Good afternoon, all of you. Sadbika, Tanvi, Mayur, Alma, Uday, Anam, Kailani, Suhani, Arya, Ashutosh, Kushi, Bhaigasri, Prakhar, Sanika, all of you, good afternoon. So, first of all, we shall go with the theme of the story, landscape of the soul. So, dear student, in this story, what we are going to learn is, in this story, we are going to learn the difference between the European painting and the Chinese painting. Okay, so you can see here in this lesson the writer contrasts Chinese paintings with the Western counterparts. Okay, there's a contrast between Chinese painting and the European painting. Using anecdotes, she brings out the uniqueness of the spiritual landscapes of the Chinese and the figurative painting based on delicate realism practiced by the Europeans. So, anecdotes means with the help of small stories, the writer brings out the uniqueness of the Chinese painting. Okay, the writer says that the Chinese, whenever they paint something, they look at it from the spiritual point of view. So, the landscape of the soul means here refers to like the landscape, the canvas where the painting takes place. This is done by the human beings. So landscape of the soul means here in this particular painting there is life, there is soul. Okay, so the landscape or the canvas that is drawn by the painter has the uniqueness of the soul in it, means it is lively. So you should not see the painting from external point of view alone. Okay, you should go deep into the very soul of painting and you shall find that it is something very lively and it has the soul in it. Okay, so the spiritual dimension has been attributed to the painting by in the Chinese painting. So spiritual dimension has been attributed, spiritual dimension has been given to Chinese painting, whereas European painting, in the landscape of European painting, it is figurative, like it looks like absolutely real, of course, and they look also from the uh, outer point of view. But when it comes to China, they look at painting not only from the outer point of view but also from the inner point of view. They get inside it as if that particular painting has life in it, soul in it. Okay, so this is how it came to be called landscape of the soul. Okay, with reference to Chinese painting. Okay, so, and man has a universal role in them, which is fundamental to their expression, and hence he makes the landscape of the soul complete. Man makes the landscape of the soul absolutely complete. Okay, so now let's go to this particular thing, story, so that we can understand. A wonderful old tale is told about the painter Wu Daoji, who lived in the 8th century. A wonderful old tale is told about the painter Wu Daoji. He is a Chinese painter who lived in the 8th century. Okay, he used to live in 8th century. His last painting was a landscape commissioned by the Tang Emperor Xuanzong to decorate a palace wall. Okay, so it was the last painting of the painter whose name was Wu Daoji. Okay, Daoji, and he has made a he has decorated a palace wall. So the master had hidden his work behind a screen so only the emperor would see it. So the painter, what did the painter do? The painter has hidden his painting behind the screen so that only the master who has commissioned it can see it. Okay. Um, the master had hidden his work behind the screen so only the emperor would see it. For a long while, for, for a long while, the emperor admired the wonderful scene, discovering forests, high mountains, waterfalls, clouds floating in an immense sky, man on hilly paths, birds in flight. Okay, so for some time, for a long while, what happens? The emperor admired the wonderful scene. Okay, they admire because in the painting there were a lot of objects, there. So the emperor for a long time was enjoying all these objects, all these scenes, like forests, like mountains, high mountains, like waterfalls, like clouds floating in the sky, then man on hilly paths, birds in flight, I mean birds were flying. All these things were visible. All these things were visible in the painting of the Chinese painter. Understood? So the emperor for a long time was enjoying all these outer part actually. Okay, this is the outer element of the painting, but the painter wanted him to enjoy the inner part. Okay, inner part of painting means the painter wanted the king, you can say, or the emperor to look at the painting from the painter's point of view. Understood? Not just superficially the mountain, forest, which everyone can view. Okay, but the painter wanted the emperor to view it from his soul, from the inside, so that he can discover what exactly the painter wanted to portray in his painting. This is why the painter wanted the emperor to look from within, not the outside elements only, like forest, mountains, scenes, clouds, all this. Okay. He says, "Look, sir," said the painter, "in this cave at the foot of the mountain dwells a spirit." The cave that he has painted, he said, "Look, sir, inside this cave there is a spirit." Okay. The painter clapped his hands and the entrance to the cave opened. Whenever the painter clapped his hands, the entrance opened. The inside of the cave is so splendid, beyond anything words can convey. "Please let me show your majesty the way." The painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him, and before the astonished emperor could move or utter a word, the painting had vanished from the wall. Not a trace of Wu Daoji's brush was left, and the artist was never seen again in this world. It appears to be really very much unrealistic, of course, but what the writer wants to say is that whenever the Chinese painted something, there was some spiritual element involved in it. Okay, there was some. He made it in such a manner that it was so lifelike, so real, and so spiritual, that inside that painting, the spirit seemed to have taken birth. It was such a lifelike, and it was such a spiritual sort of painting. Okay, which gave birth to a spirit in the painting itself. Understood? With this small anecdote, what did the writer want to convey? She wanted to convey to us that, look, the Chinese art or Chinese painting is something which is different from the European painting. Chinese painting has some spiritual element involved in it. Okay, and Chinese painter does not want to see the viewer from just superficial or outer point of view, but from the way the painter wanted to portray in his paint. So every visitor must look at the painting from the eye of the painter. Okay, and it is so real life. It is so real life painting that a spirit seems to have taken birth inside the painting. Okay, that is why it has become spiritual. Such stories played an important part in China's classical education. The books of Confucius and Zhuangzi are full of them. They help the master to guide his disciple in the right direction. Beyond the anecdote, they are deeply revealing of the spirit in which art was considered. Contrast this story or another famous one about a painter who would not draw the eye of a dragon he had painted for fear it would fly out of the painting, with an old story from my native Flanders that I find most representative of Western painting. Okay, another story is there. Another story is there. It was so real life story, which is a representative of Western painting, of course. Um, that a painter was scared to draw the eye of a dragon in his canvas, uh, because he was very much scared that the dragon will come to life and it will fly out of the painting. Okay, so it was so real life. In 15th century, Antwerp is a place in medieval country in Western Europe. Okay, so in 15th century, Antwerp, a master blacksmith called Quintin Mastis fell in love with a painter's daughter. Okay, in the 15th century, in the medieval Europe, Western Europe. In Western Europe, a master blacksmith whose name was Quintin Matsis, who fell in love with the painter's daughter, but the painter did not accept, a son-in-law in such a profession, that is in a blacksmith profession. Therefore, he rejected the offer of the blacksmith, and then Quintin, that the blacksmith, sneaked into the painter's studio. Okay, and sneak matlab he somehow managed to get into, stealthily, get into the studio of the painter, and he had painted a fly on his latest panel. Okay, and it was so lifelike that the master tried to swat it away before he realized what had happened. Okay, master means here the painter wanted to swat it away before he realized what had happened. Means the fly that was painted on the canvas was so real that even the painter himself was not able to understand if it was a painted or a live fly. So he was very much impressed with the blacksmith's art of painting. Then he became, then he immediately admitted him as an apprentice. Apprentice means trainee or learner into the painter's studio. And then the blacksmith married his beloved and went on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. These two stories illustrate what each form of art is trying to achieve: a perfect illusionistic likeness in Europe, the essence of inner life and spirit in Asia. Okay, so this particular fly art is from the Europe. Theirs is also a good paint, of course, painting. It's a good art. It's absolutely illusionistic likeness, means it appears to be real, almost. They are a painting also. But there is a difference. An European painter or European viewer views the painting from how it appears to be, from the outer point of view. Whereas in China, the essence of inner life and spirit is found in the painting. Okay, the essence of inner life and spirit means, like Chinese painting, may not be as illusionistic as the, you can say, the Western painting, but it has life in it. Okay, it has, the Chinese painting has a life in it, because they believe that, because the painter wants the viewer to look from the painter's point of view, to look at the painting from painter's eyes. okay, and find out what he wanted to convey through his painting. And it is believed that inside Chinese painting there is the presence of a spirit, okay, that is why it's the inner landscape, inner something what is inside us. So that spirit is also involved in the painting by the Chinese. So you can see here, in Europe, the art is perfect and like an illusion, which resembles something. In Asia, the art gives an essence of inner life and spirit. Okay, so next you see, next I can show you here. Mm, okay, just wait. Okay, a classical. Then you see, in the Chinese story, the emperor commissions a painting and appreciates its outer appearance, but the artist reveals to him the true meaning of his work. Okay, in the Chinese story, what happens? The emperor commissions a painting and appreciates its outer appearance, but the artist reveals to him the true meaning of his work. Okay, emperor is not a painter, so emperor cannot he can appreciate only the outer beauty of the painting, but the painter showed him, okay, how after his clapping the cave opened, and then entire painting disappeared from the canvas later on, okay, the wall later on. So this, the spiritual essence of his painting is something what emperor has been conveyed by the painter. Okay, the painter wanted the emperor to know the spiritual aspect of his painting, not only the outer appearance. So that is what is said here. But the artist reveals to him the true meaning of his work. The emperor may rule over the territory he has conquered, but only the artist knows the way within. The artist, okay, has to be spiritual. The artist knows what is the way within. Let me show the way, the thou, a word that means both the path or the method and the mysterious works of the universe. The painting is gone, but the artist has reached his goal beyond any material appearance. When the painting is banished from the panel, from the wall, the artist seems to have reached his goal. He has become successful with his painting because he was able to, convey the message, the inner message to the emperor, that look, you were admiring the mountains, you were admiring the outer objects that were painted in the story, in the painting, but it is me who has shown you how to reach the spiritual level with your painting, okay, with the disappearance of my painting. A classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view as would a Western figurative painting. Okay, the writer says that a classical Chinese landscape is not just not the not meant to just represent the actual view, okay, actual view like the Western figurative painting, but it, the Chinese landscape does not show you the actual view. It will show you a view which you need to read, okay, you need to reflect to be able to understand what exactly the painting means. Understood? um, Unlike the unlike the the Western figurative painting, which reproduces an actual view of the painting, okay, you don't need to go much beyond what is shown on the painting. But when it comes to classical Chinese landscape, okay, you need to look beyond what is visible in the painting. You have to look beyond that, okay, you have to look from the eyes of the painter to be able to go where the painter wants you to go, wants you to view, okay. So that is what has been said here. Whereas the European painter wants you to borrow his eyes, look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. The Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. The Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. His landscape is not a real one, and you can enter it from any point, then travel in it. Okay? So he says the Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. Western painting has single viewpoint, limited viewpoints, whereas the Chinese landscape is wide. Okay, it is up to the viewer how he can view this. Okay, he cannot find the meaning of a viewer cannot find the meaning of Chinese painting if he just views it from superficial point of view. Okay, so that is why it is difficult to view or and understand the meaning of Chinese painting, because you need to go beyond what is visible in the painting, unlike the European painting, which is very easy to read and which shows everything outwardly. Okay, his landscape is not a real one. Okay, his landscape is not a real one, and you can enter it from any point, then travel in it. The artist creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down, then back again in a leisurely movement. This is even more true in the case of a horizontal scroll. Horizontal scroll, in which the action of slowly opening one section of the painting, then rolling it up to move on to the other, adds a dimension of time which is unknown in any other form of painting. It also requires the active participation of the viewer, who decides at what pace he will travel through the painting. A participation which is physical as well as mental. Yes. Timeline is there. Horizontal, with the help of horizontal scroll. What is this? Let us find out. A horizontal scroll is a form where one section of the painting is opened. Okay, not all the sections of the painting will be opened together. Only one section of the painting is opened one, and then another will be opened by rolling it up to move on the other side. It creates a dimension which is not practiced in any other form of artwork. It requires both mental and physical participation of the viewer. Okay, so mental and physical participation of the viewer is required in it, actually. Okay, so the Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes. This is even more true in case of the horizontal scroll, in which the action of the slow opening one means Chinese, if you want to view the Chinese painting, then you need to be physically as well as mentally present. Okay, you need to examine it both physically as well as mentally. You need to have a research on it. Only then you shall be able to understand it. It's something like horizontal scroll, which does not show you everything together. Okay, it manifests in front of you, or it shows in front of you step by step. Likewise, Chinese painting also is something like you need to gradually understand it. You cannot understand it at one go. That is what is the meaning of this particular reference of horizontal scroll. Okay, so the Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes. He wants you to enter his mind. Yes, that is important. Okay, you need to enter his mind to be able to understand what he has painted. The landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. Okay, that is why it's landscape of the soul. Okay, it's a landscape. It's a canvas, painting canvas, but you have to look it from inside. Landscape of the soul. Okay, only then you will be able to understand it. So like here it is given, the Chinese painter wants you to enter his mind and see the painting from his thoughts. The landscape created by Chinese artists is spiritual, inner, and of conceptual or abstract space. Okay, it's something which is abstract space. It is not something which is painted in front of you. You cannot see many things in Chinese painting. You have to imagine what is there. This is a conceptual space. It is abstract. Some part of his painting is abstract, and some part of his painting is visual, and some part of his painting is abstract, unlike the Western painting, which is mostly visual. But Chinese painting is not only visual, some important part is left blank, white space, just white space. That is what is called spiritual and abstract space, that you need to understand from inside, from the inside. That is why you need to borrow not only the eyes of the painter in understanding the Chinese painting, but also the mind of the painter. Mind of the painter. You have to look at it from not only, not from superficial point of view, but from inside your soul, to be able to understand, because there is a spirit present in Chinese art, something which is said, something which is not said, something which is not painted or not said is something which you need to study, find out on your own, and understand. So this is the difference between Chinese art and the European art form. Okay, now the important concept. What is that conceptual space? Here is described. This concept is expressed in shan shui. Okay, so dear students, shan shui concept I need another 10-15 minutes to explain. So in my next class I shall wind up this lesson. Let us make it in two parts. Okay, in next part I shall wind it up. You must be having your classes also, right? So dear students, can you please text me yes to ensure your presence? uh, can you please text me yes, so that Pravash, what time do you have another class? Pravash, what time do you have another class? Okay, thank you, Tanvi, Ashutosh, Prakhar, Suhani, Pravash, Alma, Khushi, Mayur. Mm, thank you. It is something which is which appeared to be sometimes boring for you, but it is something which is difficult also, of course. But what to do? You need to understand sometimes the philosophical aspect of painting also, because it is something which is difficult. Okay, for you to understand. Okay, so. Or dear students, what to do? Shall I continue or I should wind up? 1:20 you are having class, no? So we have time enough. Okay, next class we will wind up, dear students. Yeah, we shall wind up next class because we shall have plenty of time to explain. I have to go a bit slow here, the last paragraph. Okay, thank you so much, dear students. Bye bye.